This episode of Scab Talk is brought to you by Lethal Gaming Gear.
And welcome back to Scab Talk, everyone. Today's episode coming to you live from a 1990s Walkman. We are in Tarkov. Things are dire. They're all out of Elgato microphones. Let me just start off by showing the tech here. We got the lapel mic attached to the hashtag not sponsor Bojangles sweet tea, the finest finest in technologies.
It's a proper setup. It's a proper setup this week. Oh dear me. They talk about technical issues, and these ones are sometimes they're unsurpassable, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, the show must go on. Rain, sleet, snow, vacations, microphone. Nothing will stop the show. So
Exactly.
What do we have this week, Giga? What's our first topic?
So let's just whiz through the different patch notes. There's been a couple of things here and there, some related to Arena, some related to the base game, and some kind of relating to the combination of the two. First one is the one on the 4th. So because we did our last podcast on the 3rd, so we've actually caught up on quite a lot of stuff. So there's not quite as much as usual. But there's still enough, so it's all right. Basically, they did a whole balancing pass to like refs tasks. So the first one is balancing changes to Tarkov Arena and Escape from Tarkov. Adjustment to refs tasks Easy Money Part 1 replaced the special task posters with regular lootable posters, 3 of which are given out by Skier after accepting the task. To progress the task, you only need to place 1 poster. So Easy Money Part 1 is much easier now. It used to be you had to get a poster from USEC Camp, a poster from Lighthouse somewhere, and another
really?
one as well. Yeah, it was like there were 3 at one point, and it was really annoying. And then you had to go to Fortress with all of them, and then place them in Fortress. It was a right pain in the ass. And then now you only need to just get one of them. Like I think the previous iteration, you had to go to USEC Camp, grab the poster off the chair, and then take it to Fortress still. But now it seems to be that they're now like regular, normal lootable posters. So I don't know whether that means
gotcha.
You then have to go and like just buy new ones, and you place 1 poster in Fortress. It's not like a multi-map thing anymore. I'm not 100% certain. Actually, it's probably I'm going to go to the wiki and just see, actually, because I haven't like re-looked at this. So it says, just plant the Bison versus Undertaker poster in the living quarters. So you just get 3. So you get 3 attempts from Skier. Okay, this is how it works. So he gives you 3. You only have to plant 1 of them to succeed. So you get 3 tries. Yeah, before you have to buy them from the market. I wonder. I think, are they a cheap one? Hopefully they're not an expensive one. Let's have a look. Bison, because these ones are usually quite. Early wipe. Some of this stuff's like actually quite pricey. They're like 80k. Okay, so they're. Oh, you could actually buy them from Skier. Interesting. I wasn't aware of that. I wonder whether you can buy them at level 1. Yes, you can.
Is that new?
Okay, so I've not seen that before.
Yeah.
So they've changed it as part of the task. So rather than having to collect them on the map, you now get 3 from Skier. You have to plant 1 of them in Fortress Customs, same as you used to. If you fail 3 times to do that, you can still take them in your secure container. So you probably just do that. If you fail 3 times and you have them on your actual body for some reason, then you can pay 80k to buy another one. And you can just pay 80k to buy an actual poster now from Skier, which is interesting. I wonder if they've added any other posters from traders. I'm intrigued. I'm just going to have a quick look. No, it is just that one.
Where's my Kill Tequila waifu poster at?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That one is still 1.5 million rubles.
As it should be.
As it should be. So that's the first one. Then you've got something much further down the task line. I don't know if you've ever tried doing refs tasks. I mean, the first set is all, find Pevcos and
that's
do
what
this
I'm
and do that.
On.
Kill scabs on interchange with the G36 and a Thor armor and stuff like this. It's like nothing too bad. And then there are some annoying ones about boss quests, but they haven't changed those. It's like the ones where you have to kill guards on streets for Kaban and Kollontai. They haven't touched any of those. But the one that is the ultimate blocker that gets most people stuck, or did previously, was the 2 Great Heights task, part 2. So you had to get to 1700 ARP. Most people start at 1500. Some people who were like good at Arena before started at 2k. Most people start at 1500. And unless you've got team, getting to 1700 is really not that easy. And you've also got to play Teamfight or Blast Gang as well. Like the Checkpoint and Last Hero are both strictly unranked game modes, so you can't level up in those game modes, which is unfortunate. But they've actually removed it, so they've removed that completely. So you don't need to get 1700 ARP. The biggest troll about all of that is that even if you get 1700 ARP, there's a quest later called Against the Conscience Part 2 if you want to get the Theta Container, and that one you had to get to 2200 ARP. So it just stopped most people from bothering. It's not like even people who could do it, it just takes an incredibly long amount of time, unless you are with a very good group of 5 and you just stomp on people. It's just painful. So they've got rid of all the ARP stuff, so you can now just play and get it eventually. You know, you'll do it at some point. So these are now a lot better. There's loads of other stuff about Blast Gang Teamfight. Like they've removed and adjusted specific dailies and weeklies to make them more sensible. I'm not going to go through them all because it's a bit boring, but it's good. It means ref task line is now not. I think they probably could see it in the stats that loads of people got to that 1700 ARP task and then just stopped. I stopped. You take like 0.3 on ref every time, or 0.03 on ref every time you do a quest, and then you get to that one and you go, right, I'll just do dailies until I get to ref 4. It's just like it just was not worth trying to do that. The only people that I know who even came close to doing this are like Godly in Arena. You know what I mean? It's like there's just not really any way. Or people who've got like a proper team they play with like all the time. Arena's ranking is a bit annoying, where it's like if you're in a consistent 5, you're just way more likely to do well. And a lot of the time, the ARP is more about like how well you played. Like it's just not very well calibrated. But anyway, this is a welcome change. I may carry on with the ref tasks. Still got to kill 5 people with a Packer though, which I'm a bit fed up of doing Packer kills. I was like so tempted to combine that with Punisher 5, and I thought, if I try and do all this stuff at the same time, I'm just not going to get any kills ever. So I've kind of left that one for the time being. But we'll see. There was another arena patch which didn't change that much. There was some balancing that they did. This one's like a bit of Checkpoint and Last Hero. So future updates, in-match player vote kick system to be able to like kick people out. The big one that a lot of people were waiting for was this middle one. In Teamfight, Blast Gang, and Checkpoint game modes, the ally team will always be displayed wearing blue armbands. The enemy will always be displayed wearing red armbands. And people have been after that for ages because it's just annoying changing its sides each time, and it's a real pain. And honestly, when I played the Christmas, I'm not sure if this would even help, but the Christmas task line, do you remember? I don't know if you tried any of the arena task line. I did like a little bit of it just to play it. But you had to, the half of it, you had to play with a Santa hat on and get kills. And people with the Santa hat on, or the blue team, was really confusing. Honestly, it was so confusing. There was people with like red on their head and blue on their arms, or people who've got like, there was some other guy who was like playing the red team, but he had the untar vest on, so he's like got a blue chest and like red arms, and I'm just like, how am I supposed to, like, it's hard enough anyway.
Choose which color hat you wanted for your loadout, I guess, is what
you
they
could
did.
choose, yeah, because you could have the Dead Morris one or the Santa,
right?
Yeah, and so you could just like switch depending on which team you got, so that you had the blue hat with the red armband or the red hat with the blue armband. And a number of times I was like, I don't want to kill my team. Oh no, he's actually on he's on their side. It was so annoying. But anyway, you'll always see the same. That doesn't help this, but you'll at least see the same consistent armbands now, so they'll always be red, which is quite useful. There's a couple of other bits and pieces, some captured stat objectives for, I think that's for Checkpoint mainly. There's going to be a temporary buff after respawning in Checkpoint and Last Hero, so you don't just get immediately gunned down, because that can happen sometimes. And then some spawn logic stuff, so you don't just like die in Last Hero. There's still like some of the most egregious ones on Last Hero have disappeared, but there are still some annoying ones left, like Chop Shop. There used to be one where you could, because you got to be standing like far enough away. There's like the back section, which is sort of outside, and you used to be able to stand at the far corner of that, and people just respawn in the other corner, and you could just kill them on entry again and again and again. It was bad. And they got rid of that. And there's only one more now, which is where people spawn in like the other end, in sort of the back sort of hangar bit, and you're quite far away, and you can just wait for them. You sort of see them materialize out the ground, and you can just kill them. But it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Then we've got actually just before we do that, because that's going to segue on to the next piece. Let's just quickly look at, Nikita posted a jacket on Twitter. I don't know what this is about. Nice guy said Rizzy jacket, but I'm not sure. I haven't like cross-referenced it. It's got sort of balaclava on the front of this thing. I don't know. I don't really know what that's relevant to. I'm not sure. And then then there's a patch, another patch. This is for the base game. And this one was this morning at 7 a.m. So this one fixed all known causes of complete audio loss during raids. Again, the known causes wording being extremely important as usual. And they said, to be fair, we're actively working on fixing all of the causes of disappearing audio. If these issues persist, please submit a bug report. So they're trying to get rid of it. Added the ability to select local or server-based play on the location selection screen in PvE. We'll monitor the load on the game, which is cool because some people didn't like it. So lots of people wanted the ability to play local because it means that there's no server matching time or anything like that. Some people on certain maps, I think Lighthouse is probably a really good candidate for this, kind of lost the ability to play because PvE is more intensive than server-based PvP if it's running on your local machine, because you're running all the AI and all the scavs and everything else. You're running the server as well on your own PC when you're playing local. So some people with weaker machines are actually like, oh, this kind of sucks. Even maps that were like okay before now kind of struggle to run on my machine. And like Lighthouse is like really tough to run. Like Streets always runs on BSG servers. So that's one thing. But some of the other maps, especially people with like lower end machines, even like new customs on 2022 Unity, right, just like doesn't run on people's PCs. So some people would much rather have still played on BSG servers and taken the queue because it's just a much better experience.
Yeah.
So now you have the choice, which is nice. And I imagine the vast majority of people will still play local, right? You got to imagine that that's going to be the case, I would have thought. But we'll see. We'll see. Comprehensive update to anti-cheat. This is definitely required. This wipe is probably one of the most... I mean, even as I said previously in other casts, right? Even I'm noticing it. People yesterday I was just like walking through interchange and then a guy player scav just like pops out around the corner and I was wearing Death Shadow and this guy's running like 7mm iron sights MP153, hit me in the face with I think it was 13 of the 16 pellets and killed me with blunt damage in 2 shots and killed me through the Death Shadow. Which I was like, it could be coincidence, I guess, but there's just so many of these situations now that you're just like, oh man, it's just like feels bad. There's like lots of raids that just feel kind of bad. People sort of just know where you are and stuff. It's just like, I don't know. It just doesn't. It feels quite bad right now, which is big for me because normally I just don't notice. But it does feel quite bad. Then there's a few other bits. I'm going to leave this one. I'm going to leave this one for a second because I'm going to go on a bit more about that one. There was a white square appearing after dragging ballistics plates. Apparently, Clem reported that and they fixed that. Muffling sounds behind open doors in certain cases on woods, a mannequin bug fix, fix the issue with Lightkeeper not giving out tasks in PvE until if the player's inventory was full, inability to interact with items received as reward for the BTR in the same raid. I never saw this and I wish I had. Fixed the cause of the BTR flipping while driving in certain cases. That honestly, that's just like, that's clip central. That's so funny. And adjusted the reverb effect on outdoor locations, which I think probably is necessary. Reverb inside kind of makes sense, but when you're next to walls outside, there's just too much dissipation. It doesn't make sense. So hopefully they've just toned it down a bit. If you're like stood next to a wall IRL and there's a noise, you don't hear like a big reverb sound from it. Right. It's just it's different when you're outside. So we'll see what that feels like. But anyways, going back to the middle one, there's one in the center which has sort of been hidden here, which I'm going to talk a bit more about, which is the fixed an issue where the thorax armor hitbox would not receive damage if a bullet had penetrated the arm before hitting the armor. And so I did a video about this previously. This was based on HyperRat's tweet and a few other people saying that this was happening. And it is fixed. Actually, I went and I had a test. I wanted to go and do a quick test of it. I was like kind of making some other content around like testing bugs and stuff at the same time. So I didn't want to it doesn't really justify like a whole video, just be like, it is actually fixed, by the way. Like, see in the next one. It's kind of too short and I just didn't really want to do it. I mean, I guess you could do a short on it or something. But so I tested this as part of a broader thing because and just to say I think that's the last like update that we've had this week since Monday. So I'm going to sort of just spin this line out now and talk about something slightly different, which is about ballistical issues and weirdnesses with single taps. So alongside this, I've been investigating one taps to the chest, which started appearing after the neck hitbox change. So this is related to So people previously were saying like, oh, it isn't fixed, and I was like, it is. They did do it right, and people say no, they just relabeled it, and I'm like, no, they didn't, because like I have done the test, I've tested it, and you can shoot a PMC in the neck, and it goes to the thorax, and the neck armor is the only thing that's damaged, so so it's fine. And people are like, no, but I'm still getting one shot, and I'm like, really? And I like a couple of people sent me a few clips, and I was just like, oh, I don't know, and I went and like retested it, and I was like, I can't replicate this. I don't understand what's happening. Maybe it's some like really obscure bug, or maybe it's a certain piece of armor, or maybe it's certain ammo or something.
Right.
I just a certain situation. I'm not sure. And Valiant sent me a clip because I was talking about something else on Twitter, and he said, "Oh, I've got a clip of this happening." And I said, "Yeah, send it over." So he sent it to me on Discord. Yes, last night actually, and I watched it, and I was like, "Huh, okay, interesting." And basically, he like runs out of chalets on Lighthouse and gets one tapped by a Mosin guy with T46M. And you can clearly see on the thing in the corner his body. His thorax does go black.
Okay.
In one shot, and it is a thorax kill. But when you mouse over the boxes, it says like 2 shots. It's like 2 hits, and then the death icon is like a blunt damage one for the death thing. And I was like, this is super weird. That is very, very strange. And so I was like, okay, well maybe it's only like big rounds or something. So I went to do another round of testing to go and see what the deal was. And I did what I did before, which is like lift my player's neck up and then shoot into the neck. And I was like, okay, that's normal. That's just doing what it should be doing. And I was like, well, what if I do it straight on? Because if it's doing a double hit, maybe it's interacting weirdly with like the plate or something, or like it's hitting two hitboxes at the same time,
right.
or something like this. So I tried it just because it's quite hard to get it without like hitting them in the jaw and like killing your
chest dummy.
Yeah, it's annoying to, it's like kind of annoying to do. So I was like doing a bit carefully, and I figured out a way of making it work quite easily. I mean, it's quite simple. You just put like 2 NC Star blue lasers on either side, and then it shows you where the barrel position is. So I was doing that, and if you point down and you get it just right, you can basically get a situation where, so I was doing with SSAP with a current on, and that's important for another reason. And you shoot, and I was like, oh, I've got like 9 thorax HP left. I was like, oh, that's weird. Like this ammo does 38 damage. Like it's listed damage
right.
like
That's
38.
5.56.
Yeah, it's like it's like the punchiest pen.
Yeah.
Out of the whole of 5.56, even more than M905. And I was like, oh man, it's done like 70 something, like 76 or something. I was like, man, it is actually like it's actually hitting twice. I was like, how is this occurring? It's weird. So I went through the usual iterations of trying it, in different ways, and because I wanted something that was not going to like one shot them.
How'd you produce it the first time? You were just directly facing them?
Yeah. So the findings that I have so far, if the player's model is like looking up like this, you can hit the neck hitbox on its own, and it looks normal. If you're looking down like this, and you hit them in the neck, you can interact both with the front plate and the neck hitbox simultaneously. And if that shot gets a pen, it hits. I don't know exactly how it's working. Obviously, I don't know, but my suspicion is that it's hitting both neck and also distributing some damage to thorax as well. And it's counting twice. Once for the neck, once for the thorax, and doubling the damage.
But the neck is the thorax, effectively.
Yeah, but the neck is also the thorax, so they both go to the thorax. So it's like PMC neck, PMC like upper chest, and both of them are taking damage from the round. One after another. I
understand. So like, how they got that, I mean, you've shown a bunch of your videos, but they got like that cardboard box on out, to represent, I mean, it's not actually a cardboard box, but it's just like a cube made up of colors. I don't know. And it's representing the hitbox for the armor plate. Yeah.
Yep.
And so the bullet hits the plate, or I guess I should say the in a neck hitbox, let's say it's like a pill shape or something. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, right? But I imagine previously what would happen is you would get hit in the chest or plate or whatever the case may be, and then it would hit the neck. But because the neck was tied to the head, like it didn't matter that the damage got split
Yeah.
between the two. Whereas now that they changed the tag from head to chest, but it still has its own separate hitbox. I could
Hmm.
see a case where you hit because
Yeah.
this was also, it's like, okay, so they buffed the plate hitbox, etc. So now that it's like, you get more coverage. This is such a weird conundrum. You get more
Yeah.
coverage, but you get, as a trade-off, it's like this weird situation where, because you're getting more coverage, that means that now your plate is getting hit more, or like whatever the armor is, it's also bigger.
That's also true. Yeah.
So, but if you look at back when they probably first designed this thing, it probably looked a lot more like, you know, very detailed, very, maybe not hyper realistic, but pretty realistically shapen. But now that they went a little less realistic, and then this thing grew, your chest kind of grew out, the hitbox for it. Maybe it overlapped the neck a little bit, but that wasn't a big deal because that was to the head. I don't know. This is presuming a
Yeah.
lot, but
Now, do you want to know what makes this even more complicated and strange?
no.
You don't want to know, actually. If it's so it's something specifically to do with the front plate. There's a bug with the front plate. I'm almost certain at this point. When the front plate loses all of its durability and stops functioning, you stop hitting twice.
I mean, that kind of makes sense based off of what I said.
Maybe. Yeah, it means that it's not something to do with the two hitboxes being on top of each other and it penning through one and then another. It's something to do with the front plate. When it pens the front plate, it registering to the thorax, despite the fact it should be going to the neck. Or well, it does both for some reason. That's kind of the my takeaway, at least. Because yes, if you're not wearing, and this is why I don't think I saw it the first time, because if you're not wearing any armor, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It only happens if you're wearing a front plate. I don't know if it's soft. I'm not sure if soft counts. Actually, I'm not entirely certain. But if once the armor's zeroed or you're not wearing any armor, you don't get the double damage
That
bug.
would be a test. You need to just take out the plate. Because if you take out the plate, then you lose that hitbox. Like,
Yeah.
you lose the plate. Oh, wait. But God, I guess it's just so confusing to keep up with BSG. The plate hitbox buff only applies to. No, it's plates. Yeah, it is plates. So if you take off the plate, then you lose that extra square, that big
Right.
cardboard box. That would be the thing to see.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very weird, and I don't know. I think the long and the short of it is that it's just going to keep happening from time to time
Mm-hmm.
as things go on, where sometimes you just get one tapped by stuff. It's just going to happen, but it's not worth not wearing the armor. So the long and the short of it is,
Yeah, of course.
if you're wearing armor, and the armor gets penned by the bullet, and it's just in the place around the neck, it will hit for double damage and you will die. But if it doesn't pen,
Right.
it doesn't, like, you just take a bit of blunt damage. So you still want to be wearing armor, but if you aren't wearing any armor, the bug doesn't happen.
So M61 good? That's what I'm hearing.
So M61 uber good. M61 is like even better for this. Like, you could get M80 will kill you for this. There's only certain rounds that will actually get you. I don't think anything in 762. I had a quick look. Anything if you're wearing class 5, even 762 like PP is not good enough. I think you have to be, it's like BP. It's like the earliest one that's okay, and that's only from short ranges as well, because 47 pen, it'll still have its damage reduced through class 5, and it's then something along the lines of like 44 damage or something. So you have to be quite close, and then it'll hit for them 88 or whatever, and they will actually die. but yeah, any like 54R, like T40, whatever. If you go through, obviously you still got a pen class 5.
Right.
But if you roll the pen, like an M80 is like a 25% chance or something. If you roll the on the pen chance and you're just in the right area, you can just one tap them, off the face of Tarkov, which is
I mean,
yeah,
this is
it's not
confusing
great.
because why doesn't this happen with like just the chest as a whole? Because like it doesn't do it there
Like when you're not wearing armor, you mean?
when you are wearing armor.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because if you shoot them in the chest, they just take 1 set of damage as well.
Right. Because
Yeah, it's normal.
presumably you got the plate hitbox. Actually, maybe they could set it up to a space or like a place where you have your regular chest hitbox, but then when you have a plate on, then that just like swaps out a new hitbox, right? Doesn't like it's not like 2 separate hitboxes. I mean, you could do it a number of ways, but that would be a way of doing it, I guess.
It's just weird that maybe it's some fudge that they did in the logic originally, where it's like, well, if it hits the thorax, then it's just going to go to the chest no matter what. But then they moved the neck, and they then forgot about that like fudge in there. So it's like, oh, it pens through, it hits the neck takes the damage through, but then because of some other piece of logic, oh, it also goes to the thorax and does double damage. But it does show you at the end of raid screen as like 2 hits, which is quite interesting. It does show you like you got hit twice, and it's very clear when someone motions you that like they didn't.
Yeah, because don't you get 2 hit counts when you shoot someone in the arm and it goes through and hits their chest? Is that not a thing anymore?
That's true. You also do get that, yeah. Because
Okay.
the armor hitboxes. I don't know what happens now. Actually, I didn't test what happens if you shoot someone in the arm, it goes through the plate, through the soft, and then hits them in the thorax.
Oh god,
does that
now
count
we're
as
doing
3?
that
I
many
don't
layers?
actually know. Yeah, I'm not sure because I tested that earlier, and that works again now. So if you and it works as you would expect. So if you shoot SSAP through someone's arm, it goes through the arm, into the chest, through the plate, through the soft, and into the thorax, and damages them, which is what it should always do previously. So that's now working again. But this is like almost we've almost gone from like one side to the other. Now it's like almost the worst case scenario. Where it's like if you have M61 and they've got their arm in the way, it's going through and they're just getting turbo drilled by this thing. If you also just so happen to hit them in the right place, they die in a single shot. So we've gone from like high pen stuff sometimes getting absorbed to now high pen things never being absorbed by arms or anything. And now sometimes you can also, and to be fair, this was the same as previously, but sometimes the arms are in the way. And it's but sometimes now you just get one shot in the sort of neck area. It's quite rough. Yeah, it's quite rough. We're gonna have to see. I'm going to be intrigued to see how it all pans out. But anyway, I'm putting it all together properly in a video so people can see exactly what's happening and where exactly you need to hit. It's quite a finicky little area. It's not a big area, and most of the time, if you get shot around there, you can get shot in the face. So,
correct me if I'm wrong. You said if you're looking up, then you can't get it to proc, or is that only when you're?
I couldn't get it to proc.
So when you're looking up, you can't.
Yeah, I couldn't. I could hit the neck individually without interacting with the armor plate when I had my PMC looking
while
upwards.
wearing armor.
With armor on, yeah.
Interesting. So yeah,
but when I'm looking down like this, it moves the hitbox enough so that they're like behind each other in some way.
Yeah, I wonder if they're like clipping through each other.
Yeah,
oh wait, that might be it. What if the neck is like protruding out and it gets
so it hits neck and then the plate and then the thorax.
Oh my god! Wait! You said in Velian's clip his chest went black.
Yeah.
Did it go red?
It should do though. No, it literally just goes. I wouldn't be able to see. I think it's too fast. Like the into frame, it's just way too quick. You would just wouldn't be able to see.
You have to be recording at higher frame rates. Like I get that.
Like insane frame rates. I don't even know what frame rate you'd need for that. Something crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
But it probably it might even get calculated in like 1 tick or something. So you might not even be able to see. Do you know what I mean? It's like
right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's mad. It's
new strat. Mad. Free look into the sky while you're playing.
So you don't get one shot. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So okay, so continuing on with rounds, ballistics, and other stuff, let's have a quick chat about M61. I don't
Okay.
know if we've really talked much about M61. Did I talk about M61 last week? Or on Monday?
You
I can't remember if I did. I
mentioned it.
might have referenced it.
You said, I mean, you've been pretty vocal about this. Can't believe they done that. Put it back in the game effect. I mean, because it used to be what it was like. I mean, the very first iteration was like trader. Like you could you just get it straight to PC before? I don't know. No, I'm pretty sure it used to always be like quests locked. But then they were like, okay, now we're gonna remove from the trader. Now it's like craft locked. And then we were like, this is still kind of busted. So then they nuked it from the game completely. Like you just have to find it in raid along with M993. And now they've changed the craft that was M62 to M61, which is odd because there was a different craft for M61 that was more expensive to produce. But it's got like this kind of feels like a mistake to me. Like it just kind of, when you go through the steps, it just doesn't really add up.
Yeah, we've gone through an organic process where M61 used to just be, it was like a load of gunpowders and a bunch of helixes, and it was on Workbench 3. Then they changed the craft. They said, okay, M61 has been banished from the land. So we're gonna change that craft instead to M62, because M62 is now no longer on the trader. You can only get M80 on the trader after completing annoying lighthouse tasks, which on revision or something. I think it's revision. So now you can't get M62 unless you do the craft. The craft is cheaper now. So it's like, okay, well, that's kind of the offset for it. Fine. Or that you could get M61. I can't remember. No, maybe they'd get rid of it. I can't remember which wipe it was where you had to do. It's the task with the 50 plus dog tags. I don't remember which one it's. I can't remember what it's called. You used to be able to craft it after, like, you had to have like 10 or 20 PMC dog tags, like 50 bear, 50 USEC, 20 bear, 20 USEC, and they were above level 50 tags, and you had to be above level 55. It's called like trophies, I think. Yeah, it's called trophies, and that was like doable at one point for people who like super high level. And see, that's the old craft. That's the new one. Sorry, that's the new one. So anyway, they made it M62. They replaced the M61 craft with M62, and now it's 1 helix and 2 hawk powders or whatever. And then this wipe, for some unknown reason, they decided to change the M62 craft back to M61 without changing the recipe. And M62 is now not available anywhere. But M62 isn't very good. It's actually now worse than M80, because M80 took a buff. So the whole thing is really weird. BCP FMJ in the ordering, right? For those who've forgotten, BCP FMJ is 37 pen. M62 is now 42 pen, which is down from 44. M80 is now 43 pen, which is up from 41. And then the next bullet that you have in the series is M61, which did get a nerf, admittedly, from 60 something to 55 pen, but it's still insane. And I think alongside, we've reduced it to 55, BSG have gone, okay, fine. Well, if we reduce to 55 pen, we'll put it back into the workbench in place of the M62 craft. But it's, in my opinion, it's way too good to be accessible anywhere, honestly, unless you radically change it, right? So now I think it's 2 hawks, 1 helix radiator, which is like, it's dirt cheap, and it's 80 per go, and it takes 2 hours. So you get a lot of it really quite quickly. Like 80 is decent for 762 NATO, in my opinion. I mean, I've had access, so I'll talk about getting access, because it is quest locked. It is still quest locked. I've had it since yesterday, and I've got 300 rounds already, because I'm just crafting it non-stop now. And I'm just gonna prove the point by making people's life a living nightmare and shooting with M61 for the rest of the wipe. And
Be the change I think you want to see, Giga.
Exactly. I think 762 NATO is like completely busted this wipe. I think it's totally busted. I'm gonna
just the caliber in general.
It's just, I just think it's insane because of they've re-added M61 back to the game, right? In the wipe that they added 50 round mags for the Scar H, the MDR, the SR25, the RSAS. It's like, what were they thinking? It's absurd.
Yeah.
It's really absurd. So, access. How do you get access to M61? Well, you have to complete Wet Job Part 6 to get access to the M61. The M61 craft. And Wet Job Part 6 is the annoying one that you had to get level 7 sniper skill. So
Trophies
it was part of
the
that
task you're thinking about.
Yeah, trophies was the old task. Yeah, and you can see how long it took though. It took like 9 hours to make M62 at one point.
200 of it though, but
200 though, but even still M62. So anyway, so Wet Job Part 6, that is what you have to complete now to get M61. And you need to get sniper skill level 7. This has changed over the years. This used to just be a pure reload the most in grind, right? We all knew that this was the reload the most in grind. As a random side tangent, the MP18, when you reload that guy, it gives you skill points in shotguns. So you can't use the MP18. And I think you get points in shotguns even when you shoot people with it. So if you want a level bolt action skill, you can't actually use the MP18, which is kind of unfortunate. Anyway, there are now like a whole bunch of quests that get you sniper skill. So the old kind of meta for Kappa, right? If you're going for Kappa, the highest sniper skill that you need is 10. And that's for completing Psycho Sniper. Psycho Sniper gives you 3 skill points, but that's not helpful because you only get that after you've finished it. Completing Psycho Sniper requires 10 bolty skill. So you need to get to 10 bolty skill before you get to Psycho Sniper. That's now relatively straightforward. You don't even really have to worry about it because if you're doing all of the quests anyway for Kappa and you are actually doing them all, Shooter Born in Heaven gives you 5. Tarkov Shooter Part 8 gives you 3, and then you can buy another 3 from Mentor if you didn't get to level 2 or whatever before doing those quests, which seems unlikely because you probably would, just because level 2 is like pretty straightforward to get. You know, it's like 0 to 1 is 10 skill points, 1 to 2 is 20 skill points, then 30, 40, 50, up until 10, and then it's 100 skill points for each level after that. So getting to level 2 is quite straightforward. So yeah, for Kappa people, you can just do the quest and it's like no big deal. For people like me, I'm not intending to do Kappa, right? And like I haven't been intending to do it for a while, just because I find it quite dull, and I don't like the bolt action stuff, and it's a bit of a pain. So there are easier ways that you can get M61 without having to do all of these annoying quests. And if you don't want to do any of them, which is basically me, then the one that you have access to is Mentor. That comes previous to Wet Job. I can't remember exactly when do you get Mentor. Let me have a look. So you have to get to you have to do Wet Job Part 5 at least. So it's just in the line. You have to accept Wet Job Part 5. So it's in the line. You have to hand over 50,000 euros, which is a lot, obviously. It costs roughly 8 million rubles. So it is a lot. But money, what's money in Tarkov? Money's just money, right? So it costs about 8 million rubles. And that gives you 3 skill points. So if you don't want to do any of the annoying tasks, you have to get yourself to level 4 sniper first before you do Mentor, and then you can jump straight to level 7, which is what I did. Which then leaves the question of, well, how am I going to get to skill level 4 without doing the quest? Well, you have the old style method, the reload the most in a billion times and slowly lose your sanity in a bush, right? That's one of them. If you reload a stack of like 40 bullets into a Mosin, it is actually slightly better than it used to be because there's cheap bullets for the Mosin now. You have HP and SPBT and like these things, right? You have like cheapo ammo, so you could just spray it onto the floor and not worry about it. A full stack of 40 gives you down to like 60% diminishing returns and gives you around 2.2 skill points. So getting to level 4 does take a while because you need to get 10, then 20, then 30, then 40. So you need 100 skill points. And if you're getting 2.2, that's about 45 raids where at the beginning, it's not that many, right? But you've got to do 45 raids where at the beginning, all you do is just reload a stack of Mosin rounds. Considering that it doesn't sound that many, but considering I've done 224 raids this wipe, it's like a quarter of all the raids I've done so far. Like, admittedly, I don't grind as much as most creators, but that's like a quarter to a fifth of all the raids I've done so far, where you just have to, at the beginning, lose your first mover advantage, which is obviously a big deal in EFT because of the way spawns work. Just reloading the Mosin, which sucks and is extremely dull and very boring. And I actually think it got me killed like at least 2 or 3 times because I was trying to do it at the same time while I was running along, and then I was like in a room, and then somebody heard me and they just came in and they shot me because I was reloading the Mosin, right? So I was just like, okay, screw this. I'm not reloading the Mosin anymore. No, but I still want M61. So I went down the new meta approach, which was actually quite fun in the end. It actually was more fun than I thought it was going to be, which is jump over to Arena. And in Arena, you can use the Marksman class. And in the Marksman classes, you have a series of bolt actions that you can use. Tried a couple of different ones just to see. You can use the VPO with APM in it. Obviously, that doesn't one-shot people unless you hit them in the head because everyone's wearing class 4 or above. And with the new armor layering and damage mitigation, that won't kill you. I tried a couple of different ones, the M700s, but they've all got like slow rates of fire unless you hit people in the head. People are moving really fast in Arena too because it's very close range. Maybe if you pick certain maps, if you pick Bowl, Sawmill, sit in the sniper towers, maybe you can get something done a bit more. But what you really want is reps, right? That's what you want in order to get bolty action skill. As a reminder, again, reloading rounds in. Replacing magazines, loading rounds actually into the chamber, and getting hits is what gets you skill points. So you just want to be getting hits. You don't even necessarily want to kill them particularly. You just want to hit people over and over again.
Yeah.
So the best bolt action that I found to use in there was the AXMC, which is in Arena. If you're on the Marksman class, the XMC gives you access to 338 AP. And the fact that this thing kills people through pretty much every armor with a chest shot meant that it was way better than all the other options because yes, you only usually get one hit on them. I mean, sometimes you hit them in the arm and then you get some skill points and then you shoot them and then they die. But with the other guns, I'd get a hit and then I would die and then I'd have to respawn and find another person and then get a hit and then die and then have to respawn and then find another person. Whereas with the XMC, sometimes I sucked with it, and sometimes I went on these like crazy sprees where it was like I'd like one shot this guy and then one shot that guy, and then someone runs around the corner, I'd take a hit them in the arm, duck back round, like come back over again, one shot him, there's someone else, one shot them, and you get like a bit of a spree going, and you can rack up about. It depends on how you play, but it was somewhere between like 4.5 and 6.5 skill points per game, and a game in Last Hero is only 10 minutes long. So every hour, if you're doing well, I was getting on average 5 and a bit skill points. But for an hour of gameplay, you can get like 30 bolty skill points. So it only takes you like 2.5 hours in Arena to get from 0 to 4 if you want. And I was already at 2, so it didn't take me that long. And I basically just spent an hour and a half yesterday on stream. I was just like, screw it. I want M61. We're just going to do this. And I just played like XMC Last Hero for an hour and a half, got to level 4, bought Mentor, and now I can just craft M61. So I think if you've got Arena, I think that is probably the best way. It's a hell of a lot more fun than reloading the Mosin. Like once you get into it, it's actually quite entertaining. It probably also helps with things like Tarkov. If you don't like Tarkov Shooter Part 3, that would actually really help, honestly, because you get used to the whole like it's like tank fighting. Do you know what I mean? So you have to like because you've got such a slow like cycle. You have to be like near. It like changes the way that you think about positioning. It's not just like lean, peek, swing, and commit, which is a lot of my play style with like assault rifles. Which admittedly is probably not the best play style, but it works for me well enough. But if you have that mentality with the bolties, you just die. So you need to be like right on the corner. So people need to you just like poke out, fight, and then you're gone. You're like running around the next corner. You have to like pick the areas on the map where it's like convoluted enough that you can get a shot and run away while you're racking the ball, and then you can get another shot from the next position, and you're not just allowing yourself to just be lit up by them in the open, right? You're always like hidden around corners and stuff. So it actually ended up being quite entertaining. I had some games where I actually did quite well, amazingly. Some of them I completely sucked. There's like one of them was full of like people who actually knew how to play chop shop, and it was just like I just got completely rinsed by people with M4s, SR3Ms, and they knew all the stuff, and I had a bolty and they didn't, and it was quite miserable. But a lot of the others were actually all right, so I actually ended up having quite a good time. So yeah, the long and the short of it, I think Arena probably right now is the best place to get bolty skill if you want to do it that way. Yeah, you can reload in raid, but I just find that so tedious and so boring. Now you can max it if you really are playing passively and doing something else. You can lie there, wait for 5 minutes for the skill diminishing returns, and then set a timer, and then go back and reload another stack and stuff. Like you could do that. You could do that, but in Arena it's just fun. I didn't mind. It's a little bit reminds me a little bit of playing like deathmatch with the AWP, like CS deathmatch servers with the AWP, where it's just like one shot. If you miss it, then they're going to kill you, but if you snag their body, then half the time they die, and it ends up being quite fun. Oh yeah, the other like skill trick that I should say about it, which makes it a lot easier, is obviously go with like a red dot or something. Just I was playing Chop Shop, like the closest range map in the game. It's the one I know the best. But put the laser rangefinder on underneath and use the laser on it. That helps immensely.
Oh yeah.
For getting the point fire kills, because like it swings all over the place, and it's like with an AR, you can kind of like, or an SMG, you can kind of get away with like having the point fire bonus from like an IR illuminator or something, and you just aim with the spray, you know, so like you could see where you're hitting because you're going grrr, and then you just kind of readjust and kill them if you're like slightly off. But with a bolty, like you have to be like on it when you shoot, otherwise, and then that's it for the next 3 seconds. You're like, reloading your crossbow. So, yeah, so the laser like really helps ensure that you know where that barrel position is, and lets you kind of like free aim at people as they're running across, and it's good. It's good fun. So
where's the
it was entertaining.
Halo Blood Gulch shotgun shotty sniper only? I gotta bring that in.
Exactly, it's that kind of thing. Other people were coming and being like, "Oh, it reminds me of playing like railgun modes on various games and stuff like this." It's like, yeah, it's a bit like that. So once you get into it, it's quite entertaining. I did want to mention at the end I had sort of underestimated the impact of this, but Unheard Edition people get 3 bolty skill right off the bat. That really helps with this. It means you only need to get 1 level, and then you just pay for mentor, and that's it. It actually really helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I've got M61. I'm going to be crafting the living crap out of it, and then I'm going to start running MDRs and Scar H's. I think the Scar H with the 50 rounder is going to be crazy.
Yeah, so I was kind of surprised. I mean, unless they changed it, but you can just buy the receiver off the Flea for the Scar Mechanics.
You buy off the trader.
Oh, and that's why people are selling off the trader. Like, yeah, I was kind of confused. I was like, are people finding it in Rain and just like selling them? I mean, I guess that's par for the course in Tarkov, but
yeah,
I thought they would be a lot more expensive. Is what I'm.
That and the 50 rounder need to be like finding raid.
In my opinion. I mean that I don't know.
I just don't know why anyone thought that was a good idea. So we'll see. I'm gonna have like a 70 recoil gun with M61 in it with a 50 rounder soon. It's gonna be great. Next stream.
Suppressed? I mean, yeah, it's got to be, right?
Yeah.
Suppressed is lower recoil than the loud one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I have the meta one. Let me just load it up. I think I've got it here. Meta. So I've got 2 variants. I've got 37 ergo and 71 recoil, which is a bit iffy, and then 45 ergo and 76 recoil, which is probably my preferred one. I think. Like 45 ergo isn't that high, but 50 rounder.
Yeah.
50 rounder. I mean, you could put the 25 rounder in it if you want. You can't buy those though. Those are locked on Peacekeeper until I think they're Lightkeeper task locked or something. Like, why the 25 rounders locked and the bloody 50 isn't? I don't know.
Beyond me. Anyways.
Yeah, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. So hopefully I'll start proving my point. And I think with the changes that they've made, I think people are just going to melt to this thing. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. People are literally just going to die in 2 shots. I
mean, yeah, it's crazy. I did went and looked through a bit of the history of, what has happened with M61 in the past.
Yeah.
And if you go back far enough, it was just straight up, I believe it was just straight up purchasable from Peacekeeper 4. But what I'm more confident about is, you'll find the actual notation here. Yeah. So prior to January 2023, you had to do Wet Job Part 6, and then that would. Did I actually not save the tab? It's so annoying. And then that would allow you to buy it from Peacekeeper. But then January 9th, 2023, they're like, okay, that's a little too much. It's gonna, instead of you being able to buy it, or no, we're just gonna remove it from the traders, and it's craft only. And you could, because I think even before that, you could still craft it. Yeah, so you could still craft it, but then they took it away from the trader completely, entirely. Which, I mean, they're trying to limit it. And then that's the same tab. God, I got so many tabs. I'm tabbing out. Dang, I don't think I saved it. But the other one was, well, let me just see if I go next. Yeah, okay. So then the next patch, April 20th, 2023, they were like, okay, we're going to limit to 40. And this is like a 16-hour craft, by the way.
Yeah,
Like, this is ridiculous.
it was a lot back in the day.
It was, but it was still very good. I mean, if you were gonna give me a choice and say, do you want this to be restricted by the quests on like a high level trader, or do you want this to be restricted by the workbench, like high level workbench? Like, I personally am more inclined to say that the trader restriction is much more of a hurdle than the workbench restriction, like on its own.
Maybe, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like if you're a casual player, you're more likely to upgrade the hideout to that point. Because like you wouldn't need to do peacekeeper quests, at least not many. It would mostly be like mechanic 3 would probably be your biggest, which is like what, trader level 28 or something, or is it like 32?
Mechanic is 30. Mechanic's 30.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's probably about the time you would get around the wet job series if you like grinded shoreline. So I
Yeah,
don't
like
know.
it's not even that hard to get there, really.
Yeah, I don't know, but would people even like want to quest that? Because like you could do scavs, anyways. And then if we fast forward to the 21st of August, 2024, they're like, okay, we're gonna delete M61 from the UI. It's only found in raid, but they swapped out the craft for M62. So they like use the same components, but now you need 200 rounds of M80 and you get 200 rounds of M62. And then this was on trophies, allegedly. And then eventually they switched this back to, so you had to do the trophies task and then you could craft on Workbench 3. And then I think in the following patch to change it to M61. And then here we are now. Actually, we could probably just confirm if I just do newer version.
Yeah, the wiki's good for that. You can like look through different things
Yeah.
as of when they got changed. Like every
It's
edit,
very nice.
you can go back and look, which is quite nice.
Newer version, October 23rd. So now this got moved down to wet job, the M62 craft. And so if we look at the history, October 23rd, I don't see it. Kind of sus. December 26th. I guess I thought, I don't know. Anyways, it just seems weird to me that they would go back on this. Oh, and it's a 2-hour craft now, back when it was M62.
Yes. It's very short.
Oh, and they kept that same timer.
Yes. So you can craft M62. So you could now. I mean,
God,
obviously, you're not
this
going to
is-
do this practically.
I mean,
right?
it's 80, but still, it's just like,
Yeah, it's not like if you're, I don't know, realistically, if you're around, in the day, you're not, if you work from home or something, then you could technically be crafting this thing for 12 hours before you can't be bothered, right? So you're going to get 6 sets a day. So you could craft like 500 a day of this stuff.
I guess. Sorry, my I'm coming down full of something. I guess no matter what you do to this, it's gonna be abused by those people. Because like,
Yes and no.
well, like if you move it
Yeah.
down to 20, then like, if you're little Billy logging on, after school, you finally get claim your craft. You got 20 rounds. You go sniping, and then I don't know. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like it's tough because then you also like conversely hurt the people who aren't always on.
Yeah, and it's like it's actually very similar in some ways to the traders reset that we've talked about before.
Yeah.
The shorter the reset and the less you get per reset, the more that hurts the casual and the more that benefits the permanently online degenerate community, right? So the longer you make it, kind of the better it is for those people. I just think it should be I think it should be a lot longer personally, and I just think it should give you a lot less. You know, I think it should still be like
I
a
see what you're
10-hour
saying.
craft or something,
The
and give
faster
you
the
like
reset.
40 or something like that. Because it's
I
like
see.
then being on all day, being perpetually online doesn't help if it's a 12-hour craft. And then 40 doesn't really give you the ability to use it in like DMRs or like full auto guns particularly well. And then it makes it more of a sniping round. It's just like, yeah, maybe you don't want to you put it in a SCAR or something, but you might want to put it in an M700 if you get like 40 every half a day.
So what would you
You know,
do?
that kind of thing.
Your exact
That's
numbers.
probably what I'd do for now.
40...
Like right now, I'd probably make it like 12 hours. You get like 40 or something, or like 30 or 40. I mean, maybe that's too stingy, but I just like I don't want this thing there at all, right? So I'm trying to think of some like middle ground where it's like, because some people are like, well, it does suck that you can't buy M62, you can't buy M61, you can't buy M993, you can't buy M80A1. Like most of this stuff, you just can't get any of it. So if you actually want to do proper sniping, you basically end up having to use like 7.62 by 54. You're pretty much stuck on the SV98 or the Mosin because you can't buy good ammo for this other stuff, right?
I don't understand why M62
You're stuck with M80
is so like fool's gold right now.
Yeah, I don't know. There's no reason. It's because they got rid of the craft. Like, there's no real reason, and they got rid of it off Peacekeeper previously, and so now you still can't buy it off Peacekeeper. So that's that. But M80 got buffed, right? So now it's better than M62 has slowly got worse and worse and worse as time's gone on. It was like 47 pen at one point, 46 pen or something, and then it got dropped to 44 pen, and now it's 42 pen. Like M62 just keeps getting hit over and over again, and now you can't even get it. So you can't get it, and it's not very good. Like M80 is way better generally. Isn't a tracer, which is usually people think is a pro for these like bigger bullets because you're not going to get seen when you're shooting it. And M80's just kind of got better over time, but there's no middle ground. Like if you think about like any old change, M61 is maybe okay if you change the pen to like 46. Like it has to be nerfed a lot if you want it to be available on the workbench. And I talked about this with Chat a bunch, and it's like every single ammo in Tarkov needs to be thought of based on scarcity of the ammo, and that drives maybe do it the other way around. It depends which way you want to think about it, but it's the performance of the ammo and what gun it goes in, and then those two things drive then the scarcity. Like it's okay to have 7.62 by 54R BT craftable in the Workbench 3 after Punisher part whatever it is, because it only fits in the SVD and like the SVT and the AVT and the PKM and the SV98 and the Mosin, and like none of those guns anyone really considers good or meta. Like they're all compromised in some way. Like the PKM's funny, but it's huge. It's way too heavy. Like the SVD, you're always balancing recoil and ergo. It's difficult. Smallish mags. The SVT, obvious problems. It's like a Mosin, a semi-auto Mosin kind of thing, with no other mods whatsoever. Can't change it at all. The AVT, you can't even take a sight on it. It's like there's proper downsides to this stuff. So 7.62 by 54 RBT is all right. That's fine, because there's no way of making those guns good. But 7.62 NATO has always been good because you can mod those guns. They usually have, like, depending on what you want, right? The MDR's got decent ergo and the SCAR's got better recoil, and it does have bolt actions, and you can go full auto with those weapons. Other than the PKM, I don't think there's any, and the AVT, you can't really do full auto with 7.62 by 54. It's just not really doable. But like a SCAR is like fully full autoable. Like you can full auto that thing with a red dot on it or something.
Yeah.
And so M61 in that context is just way too good. It's like 70, and it took a small damage buff even. I think it's like 75 damage or something, and 55 pen I think it is now. Like it's insane. It's actually insane. Yeah, 75 damage and 55 pen. It's insane. It just carves through everything. Like an AACPC armor, it just two shots it as if you're not wearing anything.
Where is
90% of the time?
2 by 39 BP at nowadays? Is it? I mean, it's quest locked, right?
It is Intimidator Workbench 3 craft, and it's also Ref 4.
Okay. And see, that's only 47 pen. Yeah, I don't know.
Which is about right. Like 40 for me, 47. The 47 pen region is like the holy grail of it's craft only or it's on Ref. Like that's as good as you can really get, right? Sig Hybrid, which is arguably one of the best rounds in the whole game. That's like on Lightkeeper now, but previously you could get it on Peacekeeper 4, and that's 47 pen or 48. SP6 is 47 pen. PS12B is 47 pen or 46 pen. BP is 47 pen. Like it's about right? It means that class 5 armor gives you a chance of not dying instantaneously to this stuff, but it'll kill you if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, right? Whereas like M61, it's not even like you just don't get a chance. Like, and because of the way that the scarcity is with class 6 armor now, you just die. Even with class 6 armor on, M61 kills you some of the time on the second shot. I've got the sim up, so if I just push this up and multi-shot. This is 6+3, the best armor you can physically get in the game. 1/3 of the time, M61 just kills you anyway in 2 hits. So the absolute best armor in the game. And then 80% of the time, it's like the 3rd hit or less. And then a very small fraction of the time, it's a 4-shot or whatever. And that's with class 6 on. You know, it doesn't match it just doesn't match it. Like, it just needs. I think that just needs to be nerfed. It needs to be taken away. Based on what they've done, I think the best thing to do is probably just to make M61 like nowhere near as good. Just put its pen to 48 or 47 or something. Even then, it's an insane round. But
I mean, yeah, I guess it is kind of weird now that we got, two. As it stands currently, we got 2 loot only rounds for the 7.62x51 NATO caliber,
Yeah.
which that being the new M80A1 and then M993, which they're both effectively the same. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you might even argue M80A1's better in some ways.
Yeah, 903's got the slight speed bonus, so if you're sniping, then maybe you want that. But they're effectively the same bullet, really. And then there's a huge gap between. So then you've got M61, which is now craftable, which is crazy, and then you've got this massive gap between 55 and
crazy of a yeah. But like, okay, so like I feel like actually Ash Rajas, I like what he suggested. He said to put M62 on Peacekeeper 4 without a quest, which would mean as soon as you get Peacekeeper 4, you can buy M62, which basically a slightly worse M80 with the tracer, which I think that's fine because it's like kind of annoying in certain scenarios. And then you keep M80 as is because it's on revision. Maybe you make M80 slightly more expensive than M62, kind of keep things balanced. And then you could do some type of craft for M61. You could probably just keep it with part 6, but like that thing's got to be like 12-hour craft at least, and like you get the other thing that would be nice too, and this is like a a big ass, but because it kind of sucks that as you said, you can put these guns in fully automatic weapons, which is like you think about the difference between using an M1A versus like a SCAR or a FAL, or you think about an ADAR versus like an M4, right? Like you just send volume downrange, and then you think about upgrading from 5.56 to 7.62, especially M61. It's like you just got to touch them anywhere, basically, and they just fall over, and you're in a fully automatic gun. Whereas, if I'm using a bullet action, I want the biggest bullet I can get in there. Like when I did a couple wipes ago, when I did was going for cap, and I did what's that one sniping quest?
Was it Psycho Sniper, that one?
Yeah, I was like, I've been saving up M993 for this moment. I've used it, and it's like, no matter if I hit him in the head, it's like armor does not exist. I just gotta, not mess up the fundamentals. And you gotta say the same is true for M61. I mean, a little bit, not so much. But what I'm getting at is, for sniping stuff, you really want to use the best you got, because you're only going to be using it sparsely as is, versus like putting it in a FAL or something. Like you're going to just hold down the button and then realize there goes $1.5 million ruble. But yeah, so for that reason, I would say like if they could do some type of like damage or pin modifier for like muzzle velocity, because the bolt actions have higher muzzle velocity, but that's a bigger ask.
Exactly. So. What's funny to me is, despite disliking trophies, I quite appreciated the design of the quest, and I think M61 kind of deserves that sort of treatment. It's like and make it less annoying, right? It doesn't need to be that annoying, but it gates itself. If you have, I don't even think it needs to be level 50, but imagine, I don't know, maybe 50 is a good place to be. But yeah, 50 plus dog, you need 10 dog tags from level 50 and above. That means, and it doesn't, I mean, technically you wouldn't even need to have it be fine in raid, because that just makes it like kind of painful. That means that you would then be able to effectively gate it by like the player base.
Yeah.
So even if you're a turbo Chad and you get to level 70 on week 1,
right,
you're not able to get M61 craft because no one else is level 50. And it's only after getting to level 50 that you can then get the dog tags and like hand them in for the quest and then get the craft. Is it cheesable? I guess if people want to go into each other's raids, maybe you shouldn't. You can't do it from each other's teammate dog tags. I don't think. But
yeah,
anyway, you're still got to be level 50 to do it.
Exactly. Yeah, and then it's like you both get the unlock. Like, could people meet up? Be like, hey, anyone else level 50 on this quest? Yes, but like they're still enemies. I mean, let's from the same team and are Q sniping, but like, I mean, that's a lot of hoops to jump through,
Yeah.
I'm sure the average level 50, 1 week in the wipe isn't concerned about this stuff,
Exactly. And so I feel like it's a natural progression gate where it's like, oh, you need to meet enough players above level 50 to actually unlock this thing. And this thing is like insane.
Mm-hmm.
I think it sort of made sense. It made sense to me as much as I disliked trophies. It was mainly the fan and raid requirement that made it a bit annoying. And the fact that it was 20 bear, 20 USEX. You should never run into bears. It's like, should just be 40 dog tags or something, But that makes it a bit more reasonable. It's like, killing up people and they're high level and, okay, it's like automatically scaling for the wipe itself because they have to be above a certain level. I quite like that as an approach. Whereas, with the wet job thing, I found a sort of semi-cheesy route through and it's easier for the unheard people and it depends if you like sniping or not. It's like, I don't intend to use M61 as a sniping thing. I guess that's kind of, I'm sort of building a system or a suggestion against myself because I don't think I should be allowed to do the thing that I have just done.
Yeah.
And I think it's stupid, right? So I'm sort of making a proposition against me, which is why I think, for some of these high tier rounds, I just don't think I wouldn't actually be, I honestly wouldn't mind if like get M61 out of our heads for a minute. If there was a craft for M993 and it was exactly as I suggested before, it's like 20 rounds takes like 12 hours. Because some people would do it, because you're doing the bolt action quests or whatever. You want to have like some really hype end stuff. Like people would do that.
Or you just like sniping in general.
Or you just like sniping, and it just like then gives you another method to supplement. Because people, if you go to USEC camp or you go to various places, MVD. There's a tip for anyone listening: MVD on streets, the military academy where Colontai spawns. There's the room in there. There's the MVD academy key. If you go in that room, it used to be like high value loot spawns, like golden eggs and bitcoins and stuff like that. They've changed it a bit. It's more like Grumpy's room now, so it's like high pen ammo. For some reason, you go in there, it's just like full of like M905, like all sorts of crazy stuff. I was like, oh my god, this is people have told me, and I went in there just on the off chance and was like, man, this room is actually really, really goated now for like good ammo. So yeah, so it gives you a way to supplement. Like a craft like this would give you a way to supplement, but it would take a really long time. People who just want to put it in a scar wouldn't do it because, like, I wouldn't do that because it's just going to take way too long, and there's too much opportunity cost. And it would take you, it would take you like 4 days to get, 80 bullets. It's just like not worth it.
Yeah.
So then it makes it a bit more fit for purpose, I think, which is for a sniping round. It fills the gap that's been left behind by, within that particular caliber and like forcing people to use 54R. Right?
Yeah, that's a good way of doing
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I like that. Well, for the sake of time, should we move on to what's the deal with the flea market? I'm gonna play the Seinfeld music. What's the deal with flea market? What's your sort of because I saw I know, what was it, last week or something? You're talking about you're like working on, or no, you were one of your VODs I watched. You're talking about how you were like gathering people, feedback from your community and people, things like what are the hurdles, what's kind of the stuff. And I watched your video about the standard edition stuff, but that was a great video. But I was like, oh, I thought this was going to be a more broader, like more so about the flea market and like the game stuff.
Yeah, I was going to do something more broad, but there's so many pieces. I end up getting more passionate about making something a bit more tailored for like standard, just because of like the issues or whatever.
Which is good. Don't get me wrong. There's tons of issues
Yeah.
there.
But I mean, I do have a big document that I've been slowly adding to over time. Like I kind of wanted a master file for everything that I want to think should be different, and the stuff that we've asked for that I could just keep forgetting about. And I'm like, oh yeah, about this thing, and oh the ballistics thing, and oh if they change velocity, and there's all this stuff. Like I wanted it written down somewhere just so I can remember myself. But yeah, a lot of it was just about which keys people got stuck on, and which crafts were not working, and like where do people get stuck, like the thermite, for example, or dry fuel, or drills, or whatever, the various like quest keys, and just trying to come up with some solutions for that stuff. Like if once I've like filled it all out, whatever, I'm probably just going to send it to BSG. I don't know whether they'll listen or anything, but I'll just send it there. I'm not sure whether I'm going to do an actual video. It's kind of too like scatterbrained. It's like very difficult to actually like make it coherent, fully coherent, as opposed to just being like, here's a full list of all the things that people had trouble with. But yeah, I don't know. Like a lot of people have suggested like a staged Flea, and I still think that's quite a good idea. Like when the BSG were first toying with like keeping the Flea closed and then reopening it again, part of that came to the fore where people were saying, well, why don't we just open it for keys? Just open it for keys for now, because that fixes one of the problems. Then you don't need to do all the barters, but we keep like the no Flea situation. But it's a bit like on that poll we had the other day. I don't want the Flea closed forever, because then it's just an impossible task for people who are coming in late to the wipe or haven't progressed as fast or whatever, and the gap between each player gets wider and wider. At least with the Flea, it's one of those things people say, oh well, the experienced players are going to they'll find more stuff, especially with like ammo and things. So they're going to find more stuff, so they'll be able to use that stuff. They find more armor because they play more, and it's like, sure, but they play more raids as well, so they are using that ammo more and they're using that armor more as well. It's different, right? Whereas like with the traders kind of have a fixed amount of stuff. We have short cycles. A lot of the time, people just aren't on to benefit from the cycles. It's what we were talking about before. But the longer you make it, and I've seen that a lot of people have suggested making the trader resets longer. So they were, a couple of a day or a week even. If you made it a day, but you had 500 rounds of each type, for example, that would mean that the Chad guys would have to go out and find other stuff because they're running out, whereas the casual guys will have like lots of ammo. So it's like some balancing mechanic. It's like one way of doing it. So you could scale it in. You could go, okay, keys only for the beginning, and then barter items, and then this, and then that, and then this, and like scale it in as the wipe goes on. I quite like this Fleet as a leveling rebalance mechanic, a catch up mechanic for people.
Yeah,
I don't really like the way that it goes toward. I mean, it's actually less about the Flea, more about the traders. For like, the traders just sort of give you everything, and there's too much of it. But I quite like the Flea as a catch up mechanic. There's like, but I was about to delve off into about suppressors as well, about how we were also talking about that, and there's like the scarcity of those. Just like there's too many of them, and the Flea just allows you to run them every raid. And as soon as the Flea opens, the game becomes dead again, because it sounds dead because like you don't hear anybody. You're like wandering around an interchange, and you don't hear anything unless you're like right in the mall. And then you just catch somebody at 92 meters shooting the suppressor at the scav, and you're like, there's someone over there. But the game feels so much more dead. And we were talking. I think it's a really, really good thing to actually implement loudness. It's in the game. Like there's a number for it. It doesn't do anything, and all the guns sound the same with every suppressor. For each gun sounds the same. It's got one suppressed .mp3 that it plays when you shoot, and then it's just range based. It's got nothing. Loudness has no bearing on that. Maybe it has some. People have speculated it's got something to do with scav aggro ranges. I highly doubt it, but it's just not used in any sensible way. So yeah, maybe you could buy some suppressors from the traders, but they'd be audible out to 200, 250, 300 meters. I don't know. And then the best ones are all found in raid, and banned off the Flea, for example. So then it's like another meaningful upgrade, something like that. So I don't know. I just feel like things just need to be a bit more nuanced, and like the traders probably have too much of all the best stuff still. But so the Flea, because of that, the Flea's then necessary as a catch-up mechanic for people, because at this point I don't buy that much off the Flea. I can buy Karuns from Prapor, I can buy Defender 2s. I mean, I buy the hammer to do the barter with Ragman, but I could buy lots of different stuff. I could buy like front and back plates for Eastern armors directly from Prapor for like class 5. So I don't need the Flea all that much. So I think, it's just all of that. It depends on how hardcore the BSG guys want to take it, how much Nikita wants to take it down the hardcore route. I think it's just like tweaks from here. Just like The other problem that we've got is we're running into the fact that the game's going to be released. It's not like it's 2020 and we're got years ahead of us. Like the game's going to be released soon, and we're still toying with like the Flea and whatever. And there's not enough iterations. Is how it feels a little bit. So I don't know.
Yeah, I really wish they would like try. Just try more stuff. I mean, I'm not even wrong. I'm like happy that they tried what they did this fight with the Flea.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Can we get more of that? You know, it's like
Yeah.
I don't know how many. Like, it's got to be at least 2 years plus that Jesse has mentioned. You know, civilian Flea, and you know, I just don't understand why not? Like, just like this is not something you can test in ETS either. Like, it's not a technical thing. This
Yeah.
is like a data assessment thing, you know? Like, you need feedback from a real environment.
Mm.
I just, yeah. And yeah, just as you say, like me playing No Flea this way, it feels like I have the Flea because as you get up to those tier 4 traders and do a lot of those quests, you just have like most of the parts. Like, you know, mechanic is like the only other one that's kind of annoying. But he's like the final milestone. But yeah, it's just I don't know. I do hear what you're saying though about having, you know, a means for the average Joe, you know, your normal the normies.
The blue
No,
collar
but
players.
yeah. Well, I like I said, I wouldn't want it, or I think I said this last week. I definitely don't want it to be a case of where you feel like you can't play if you don't start at the beginning of the light. Like that's bad.
Yeah.
You know. Um, which I don't know. Supposedly at release they're gonna have wipe wipe less Tarkov and wipe full Tarkov. I don't know what you call that one. But there'll be a Tarkov version you could play that never wipes, and a version that does like seasonal, like Nikita calls it. So I don't know. Maybe that would kind of fill the gaps. I'm not sure, but yeah, I definitely think like I will say too that I don't like trader unlocks being on quest because it makes things like even more convoluted, and then
Mm.
B, it's like I would rather you like limit those things by a lot. Like let's say the sniper grip for the AKs. I forget what it's called, but it's got like the rubber butt pad at the bottom.
Yeah, the pro sniper, whatever it's
Yeah, I guess like plus 15 Argo or something. Like it's really good. It's like the best one. Um, you do like some quest for ski or someone, and then you can just start buying them, and they're like, you know, not all that expensive. I mean, anyways, what if instead he just gave you like 3 or something instead of just unlocking it, and then now you just gotta, you know, like I don't know, just keeping things a little bit more restrictive. Is that just it just unfortunately as you keep progressing, like it's so much fun in the early levels because you're really trying to like min max and problem solve, and you don't have buttons that solve all your problems. You know, it's just like once you start getting up there, it's like okay, time to put on the ball and chain meta slave. Here I go. Here's my meta parts. Hasn't changed in the past how many waves? But yeah, I mean that's what matters the most to me is like just the. I mean, it's like yeah, I just don't enjoy. I like the progression, but I dislike what the result of the progression is, which is less choices, basically.
I know it's just unfortunate. It reminds me a little bit of roguelike or roguelite games in general, where you know you're progressing through stuff. I like my favorite one of that genre, probably still, even though I haven't played it for ages, is Faster Than Light. And it's just like you spend your time like deciding between lots of different things, and you're trying to like cover up the shortfalls with what you've got. It's not always the perfect thing, and you're like, oh, I'll just have to make do. You know, and it's just trying like this sort of half solves my problem, but not really. It's not perfect, but I don't really want to spend the money on it. But if I don't, I might just die to this thing. I can kind of fix it, but then I might have to sell it and like do something else later. It's like those difficult choices. Whereas in Tarkov later on, that's why people stop playing, because you don't have any problems to solve. You've solved them all. It's like you get the perfect ship and you get to the end. Like Tarkov's like each wipe is a bit like a roguelite run in some ways. It's weird, right? And
In some
each
ways,
raid you get better. It's like it's sort of analogous in some ways. It's like if you get to the end of a perfect run in a roguelite game, and you beat the end boss, and then it's like, oh, do you just want to carry on running and gunning stuff, even though it's there's no like the enemies don't scale anymore or anything like that. You just be like, I probably want to start again, and it's that same feeling. It's like you don't have any more problems to solve. So like, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
And that's where like the MMO nature of Tarkov comes in. It's like it's going to give you, challenges. Kill 20 scavs from 200 meters away with Fatah as sniper. It's like
Yeah,
it gives you chores.
yeah.
It's tough.
I don't like. I don't know. Even things like making it so that you can't get all traders to max, maybe would help, because then you've got some shortfall somewhere that you've got to try and like fill. If they were more purposeful about the design, they could do that, right? Where it's like, well, you can either have, I don't even know. Like, I'm just trying to think of something useful. Either like the best meds or the best stims. You can't have both. Like you can have Propitols and sort of like crappy-ish meds.
Right,
or you can have like
right.
Salewas and Grizzlies, but like you're stuck with like the adrenaline and the morphine.
Yeah.
You can't have ETGs or anything. It's like it's stuff like that where it's like it's not unplayable either way. But you have to be very purposeful about it, right? And the problem with BSG's approach is that it's very organic, it's very iterative. Things get left for a long time. Like we were talking about with M61, right? It's here because of all the changes made before. We're not here for because of a purposeful design choice, right? We're the craft is as it is because that was the craft previously, for example, and like it's at the trader level that it is because of the previous craft, because trophies was too high for M62, so that's why it's wet job 6. Right? It's just like nothing's done on purpose. It's just like it's an iteration. We ended up here because of process of elimination and small changes and tweaks and decisions, and that layers of that, rather than anything else. So I don't know. I think we're probably almost at too late a stage for that, to have that like purposeful design.
Yeah, I kind of what you mean.
Yeah.
But time will tell.
Time will indeed tell.
All right. Well, I think we're at to conclude today's Scap Talk episode.
Yeah, slightly scuffed. I was a little bit time pressured as well, so unfortunately this one's a very, very slightly shorter, but we've only had a couple of days. It was Monday where we did the last one, so Friday now. I think this is fine place to be, and we'll see what the next week brings.
Looking forward to that. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you on next week.
Catch you later.